All right. I think we're back online here. So Biden, I was going to say surprisingly, he's giving his farewell address, but his farewell address is happening live. So without
Address to the
getting
nation.
too far ahead of myself, let's
Waiting to
go ahead
hear
and jump
from
into it.
President Biden and what will be his final address to the nation. Live on C-SPAN.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from the Oval Office. Before I begin, let me speak to important news from earlier today. After 8 months of nonstop negotiation, by my administration, a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached by Israel and Hamas.
And I may chime in from here and there, but remember this: it has a bit of a Trump effect associated with it too. What we're observing here with the hostage negotiations and so forth. Very clearly, Trump said all hell will break loose if there is not a deal before the inauguration. And let's look at what happens here. And he brought his negotiator along with, who was leading a team of folks over there onto the stage to kind of make a few remarks about it. So he's had folks in there in the team embedded, putting forth his style, his, the thought process into the mix. And so it's interesting to me that let's let him complete his thought here, but is he going to claim credit for the whole thing now when there was clearly involvement and personnel from Trump along with those statements and just the impending unknown that a lot of people, that was Trump that was going to be brought into this situation? Is that what settled things at the end of the day?
The elements of which I laid out in great detail in May of this year. This plan was developed and negotiated by my team and will be largely implemented by the incoming administration. That's why I told my team to keep the incoming administration fully informed, because that's how it should be, working together as Americans. This will be my final address to you from the American people from the Oval Office, from this desk as president. And I've been thinking a lot about who we are and maybe more importantly, who we should be. Long ago in New York Harbor, an iron worker installed beam after beam, day after day. He was joined by steel workers, stonemasons, engineers. They built not just a single structure, but a beacon of freedom. The very idea of America was so big, we felt the entire world needed to see. The Statue of Liberty, a gift from France after our Civil War. Like the very idea of America, it was built not by one person, but by many people, from every background and from around the world. Like America, the Statue of Liberty is not standing still. Her foot literally steps forward atop a broken chain of human bondage. She's on the march, and she literally moves. She was built to sway back and forth to withstand the fury of stormy weather, to stand the test of time because storms are always coming. She sways a few inches, but she never falls into the current below. An engineering marvel. The Statue of Liberty is also an enduring symbol of the soul of our nation. A soul shaped by forces that bring us together and by forces that pull us apart. And yet through good times and tough times, we've withstood it all. A nation of pioneers and explorers, of dreamers and doers, of ancestors native to this land, of ancestors who came by force, a nation of immigrants who came to build a better life, a nation holding the torch of the most powerful idea ever in the history of the world, that all of us are created equal, that all of us deserve to be treated with dignity, justice, and fairness, that democracy must defend and be defined and be imposed, moved in every way possible. Our rights, our freedoms, our dreams. But we know the idea of America, our institution, our people, our values that uphold it are constantly being tested. Ongoing debates about power and the exercise of power, but whether we lead by the example of our power or the power of our example. Whether we show the courage to stand up to the abuse of power or we yield to it. After 50 years at the center of all of this, I know that believing in the idea of America means respecting the institutions that govern a free society: the presidency, the Congress, the courts, a free and independent press, institutions that are rooted, they just might not reflect the timeless words, but they echo the words of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Rooted in the timeless words of the Constitution, we the people. Our system of separation of powers, checks and balances, it may not be perfect, but it's maintained our democracy for nearly 250 years, longer than any other nation in history that's ever tried such a bold experiment. In the past 4 years, our democracy has held strong, and every day I've kept my commitment to be president for all Americans through one of the toughest periods in our nation's history. I've had a great partner in Vice President Kamala Harris. It's been the honor of my life to see the resilience of essential workers getting us through a once-in-a-century pandemic, the heroism of service members and first responders keeping us safe, the determination of advocates standing up for our rights and our freedoms instead of losing their jobs to an economic crisis that we inherited. Millions of Americans now have the dignity of work. Millions of entrepreneurs and companies creating new businesses and industries, hiring American workers, using American products. And together, we've launched a new era of American possibilities. One of the greatest modernizations of infrastructure in our entire history, from new roads, bridges, clean water, affordable high-speed internet for every American. We invented the semiconductor, smaller than the tip of my little finger, and now is bringing those chip factories and those jobs back to America where they belong, creating thousands of jobs. Finally, giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices for millions of seniors. And finally, doing something to protect our children and our families by passing the most significant gun safety law in 30 years and bringing violent crime to a 50-year low, meeting our sacred obligation to over 1 million veterans so far who are exposed to toxic materials, and to their families, providing medical care and education benefits and more for their families. You know, it will take time to feel the full impact of all we've done together. But the seeds are planted, and they'll grow and they'll bloom for decades to come. At home, we've created nearly 17 million new jobs, more than any other single administration, a single term. More people have health care than ever before. And overseas, we've strengthened NATO. Ukraine is still free. And we've pulled ahead of our competition with China. And so much more. I'm so proud of how much we've accomplished together for the American people. And I wish the incoming administration success, because I want America to succeed. That's why I've upheld my duty to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition of power, to ensure we lead by the power of our example. I have no doubt that America is in a position to continue to succeed. That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern.
You know, I was wondering if he was going to reminisce or if he was going to get political, and I think he's about to get political here, guys.
This is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. And the dangerous consequences.
Hands of a very few wealthy people. So bringing class into the mix, you know, inflation has hurt everybody. And so there's more of a chance, I think they're going on strategy-wise, to kind of regain their footing by pushing kind of class divides. Of course, for me, I look at it in the sense of a politician goes into Senate, House of Representatives, and they're of modest means, and yet they come out with tens of millions and in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. How does that happen? Or is that the person you want running things, or do you want somebody that, maybe their net worth is like 5 billion and by the time they're done it's 3.6 because they've had so much stuff thrown at them, so many boycotts and people not buying their products or whatever it might be, somebody that's willing to lose net worth over it. Elon Musk forked over 45, I think it was 45 billion, somewhere around there, give or take a billion, for acquiring Twitter. Now it's the X platform. So, I mean, it is the driver behind why folks are doing this, I think, is pretty important. And it's pretty revealing to me, the concern of the system no longer being there that supports the wealth generation that's happened for Congress over the years.
If their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before. More than a century ago, but the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy. They just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to. Workers want rights to earn their fair share. They were dealt into the deal, and it helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen. And we've got to do that again. In the last 4 years, that is exactly what we've done. People should be able to make as much as they can, but play by the same rules. Pay their fair share of taxes. So much is at stake. Right now, the existential threat of climate change has never been clearer. Just look across the country, from California to North Carolina. That's why I signed the most significant climate and clean energy law ever in the history of the world, and the rest of the world is trying to model it now. It's working, creating jobs and industries of the future. Now, we've proven we don't have to choose between protecting the environment and growing the economy. We're doing both. The powerful forces want to wield their unchecked influence to eliminate the steps we've taken to tackle the climate crisis, to serve their own interest for power and profit. We must not be bullied into sacrificing the future of our children and our grandchildren. We must keep pushing forward and push faster. There's no time to waste. It's also clear that American leadership in technology.
When he said there's no time to waste, I thought the next line was going to be, so go to democrats.org and donate $50 or something. It just felt like that's what the next line was, but he forgot the line, I'm sure.
Is an unparalleled source of innovation that can transform lives. We see the same dangers of the concentration of technology, power, and wealth. In his farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. He warned us then about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power, end of quote. 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech-industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing.
What did he say? The freak fest is crumbling? What? I got to hear this again. Sorry, guys.
Under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling.
Oh, I don't even know where to take that one, but let's let him keep going.
Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit. We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy from the abuse of power. Meanwhile,
Hey, and real quick, Jimmy, if there is something that I do notice that's outrageously derogatory, I will remove it. That's just part of the commitment to the platform that I have to keep, and there is algorithms running itself too that kind of weed out certain things that I may not see happen either. So just keep that in mind, guys.
artificial intelligence is the most consequential technology of our time, perhaps of all time. Nothing offers more profound possibilities and risks for our economy and our security, our society, for humanity. Artificial intelligence even has the potential to help us answer my call to end cancer as we know it. But unless safeguards are in place, AI could spawn new threats to our rights, our way of life, to our privacy, how we work and how we protect our nation. We must make sure AI is safe and trustworthy and good for all humankind. In the age of AI, it's more important than ever that the people must govern. And as the land of liberty, America, not China, must lead the world in the development of AI. In the years ahead, it'll help to be, it's going to be up to the president, the presidency, the Congress, the courts, the free press, and the American people to confront these powerful forces. We must reform the tax code, not by giving the biggest tax cuts to billionaires, but by making them begin to pay their fair share. We need to get dark money. That's that hidden funding behind too many campaigns contributions. We need to get it out of our politics. We need to enact an 18-year time limit, time and term, for the strongest ethics reforms for our Supreme Court.
Wait, he said for Supreme Court? I got to rewind this. Sorry, I thought he was talking about Congress. 18 years for Congress. That's still way too long. Let me see what he's saying here.
We need to enact an 18-year time limit, time and term, for the strongest ethics reforms for our Supreme Court. We need to ban members.
Okay, so he's throwing a list of things out there that, where was this during the run-up to the election? Honestly, if you looked at his website, there was no set of position statements, issues, or anything about his platform at all. In fact, it took maybe a few weeks after Kamala took over for her to post something out there to take a stance on things. 18 years seems so arbitrary. What's the significance of 18? Right? Why not 20? Nice round number.
Of Congress from trading stock while they're in the Congress. We need to amend the Constitution to make clear that no president is immune from crimes that he or she commits while in office. The president's power is not limited. It's not absolute, and it shouldn't be. And in a democracy, there's another danger to the concentration of power and wealth. It erodes a sense of unity and common purpose. It causes distrust and division. Participating in our democracy becomes exhausting and even disillusioning. And people don't feel like they have a fair shot. We have to stay engaged in the process. I know it's frustrating. A fair shot is what makes America, America. Everyone's entitled to a fair shot. Not a guarantee, but just a fair shot. An even playing field. Going as far as your hard work and talent can take you. We can never lose that essential truth, remain who we are. I've always believed, and I've told other world leaders, America can be defined by one word: possibilities.
I thought he was going to go, I guess not this time.
Only in America do we believe anything is possible. Like a kid with a stutter from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claremont, Delaware, sitting behind this desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. That's the magic of America. It's all around us. Upstairs in the residence of the White House, I've walked by a painting of the Statue of Liberty I don't know how many times. In the painting, there's several workers climbing on the outstretched arm of the statue that holds the torch. It reminds me every day I pass it of the story and soul of our nation and the power of the American people. There's a story of a veteran. This is a veteran, the son of an immigrant, whose job was to climb that torch and polish the amber panes so rays of light could reach out as far as possible. He was known as the keeper of the flame. He once said of the Statue of Liberty, quote, speaks a silent universal language, one of hope that anyone who seeks and speaks freedom can understand. Yes, we sway back and forth to withstand the fury of the storm, to stand the test of time. A constant struggle, a short distance between peril and possibility. But what I believe is the America of our dreams is always closer than we think. And it's up to us to make our dreams come true. Let me close by stating my gratitude to so many people, to the members of my administration, as well as public service and first responders across the country and around the world. Thank you for stepping up to serve. To our service members and your families, it's been the highest honor of my life to lead you as Commander-in-Chief. And of course to Kamala and our incredible partner, the historic Vice President. She and Doug have become like family. And to me, family's everything. My deepest appreciation to our amazing First Lady who's with me in the Oval today. For our entire family. You're the love of my life and the lives of my love. My eternal thanks to you, the American people. After 50 years of public service, I give you my word. I still believe in the idea for which this nation stands. A nation where the strength of our institutions and the character of our people matter and must endure. Now it's your turn to stand guard. May you all be the keeper of the flame. May you keep the faith. I love America. You love it too. God bless you all. And may God protect our troops. Thank you for this great honor.
You notice at the end there, although this was streamed, just live, right? At the end there, it said, "Oh, recorded, on the 15th." So with all those, moments, I don't know. I can't even remember all of them now. But with all those moments that were slip-ups, this was pre-recorded. This was not something they delivered 100% live here. So, they couldn't run through it 10 times and just get one of them to work out well. Try different camera angles and, piece it together to make it sound like it was fluid. I don't know what's going on. But I think clearly the job has taken a toll on him. It's very unfortunate. Honestly, very unfortunate situation, but we are moving onward and upward. The interesting thing, he did politicize things, did speak to class as the next big sticking point for the Democrats. They're saying that this is the party of billionaires that's come together, millionaires club, when in reality, that's what Congress has turned into. You need to solve that problem before you look elsewhere at this point. And he took credit for what Trump has, put some negotiators into the mix and stuff. We've looked at on previous live streams his, some of his remarks that he made and brought up his chief negotiator for what was going on in the Middle East. And, they talked through some of the strategies and the timelines, and then Trump did very clearly, all hell will break loose if there's not an agreement by the time the inauguration comes around. And wouldn't you know it, we're just 5 days away, and we have something on, happening here. But that didn't stop Biden from claiming it as part of his legacy. And then he threw out 18 years as a term limit for Supreme Court justices. 18 years. I don't understand what the significance of 18 is, but nonetheless, take a quick look at some of the comments here coming through. Why did he pardon his son if he wasn't? Oh, Lord. Yeah, that was very contrary to what he said he was going to do. Worst failure in the president of your lifetime. I think the biggest thing that's kind of pushing him over the edge for people giving him low approval ratings, it really comes down to inflation, not the economy, because they'll point to Wall Street and say, look, the stock market's doing great, but what happened for the other 98% of the country? Your standard of living diminished. Even if their wages went up, it didn't go up in proportion to inflation, and their standard of living has dropped. So that's a really big problem now. In fact, in the area I'm at in Houston, there's a lot of new homes being built, or at least there were. And over the past few years, since inflation took hold, the size of the homes they build are now smaller and smaller, yet the prices are going up astronomically. And that shrinkflation is happening across the board, whether it's the homes that they build or you get a bag of chips and there's like 2 chips in it, but yet it's the same price as how it's always been. So, I mean, those are the things that really affected people and got him voted out. Well, I mean, Kamala as a surrogate for him. But I don't know. I don't think history is going to be very kind with his tenure. I don't actually know if he was really day to day making decisions on things or had some sort of a structure to have everything kind of flow in the direction that he wanted it to. I don't even know if he set a direction or set any of those types of expectations. But nonetheless, this was his farewell address, pre-recorded and just, I don't know, about 20 or so minutes in length. Exactly. All right, Ad. All right, guys. I actually didn't know how long this was going to be. I thought maybe he would go on for like, an hour or something. But as has the trend been with Kamala, she speaks for 15 minutes max, and then they just, cut it short at that point. When I was at her rally in Houston here, she literally spoke for 20, or no, not even that. It was actually right on the dot, 15 minutes. Beyonce spoke for 5 minutes, if that. And then it was straight to Kamala. And 20,000 or so people came out, and that's all they got. I mean, they sat there forever. I did too, because I was live streaming it. But nevertheless, I mean, I had my own purposes for doing it. I wasn't starstruck or what have you. But anyway, I'm going to close it out here, guys. I thought this was going to go a little bit longer. If I can manage it, I'll be back online a little bit later, and we'll take a look at some of the testimony in the Oversight Committee with Pam Bondi looking to become Attorney General. Fireworks, a lot of fireworks. And, sometimes when you listen to people in these scenarios, you can really get an appreciation of how they operate. And all I can say is I am extremely impressed with how she handled herself. So really good segments that went there. Adam Schiff tried his best to kind of steer her off course, but he was no match. No match for Pam Bondi. The other one that we'll take a look at maybe this weekend going into Monday, which I'll be covering the inauguration at length. Got to do some setup there. Probably get multiple feeds going in at the same time, but we'll take a look at Tom Homan's testimony as well, or his hearing. Fireworks again in that session. So I appreciate it, guys. I'm going to close this out a little bit short. I appreciate you guys. Hey, like and subscribe on the way out. I will close with, do check out Ground News. I got the link for the community link in the pin chat on the vertical live stream. It's also in the description of the streams that you guys might be watching on different platforms. But if you want to have like a real view into the bias that exists for any given story. Their AI engine helps you kind of differentiate what the left is saying versus what the right and the center are saying on any given topic that's running on the news cycle out there. So I appreciate it, guys. I'm going to close it out. Be back again in the near future.